This is going to be a little different today. We're going to, we've been talking about gathering and giving and those great things, those 5 G's. And today we're going to, with the season, Thanksgiving, we're going to be talking today about what we're thankful for. And we're going to be having some of you guys today participate in this. Hope you don't mind that. But we're going to be giving you the opportunity to share with each other. And then later on, some of you are going to give you a chance to share with all of us some of the great things God's been doing for you guys this year. I know I've heard some amazing stories this week. There's a couple guys in here that are going to probably share some of those stories with you of God's tremendous work in their lives as far as what He's been doing for them. And I've got a fellow here that's going to share with us here in just a second a story, and some of you guys know him. But we've got a lot of guys in here named Mike, and this guy's name's Mike, but we don't call him Mike, we call him Rib. And you can make up your mind what you want to say with that, but you know, some people call him pork rib, and what else they call you?
Beef rib, lamb rib.
But anyway, Rib and I just want to share one thing about that I'm thankful for, and one is that Rib and I and Reese Jennings and Carl, a year ago last summer, we got to go to John Elridge Camp in Colorado, and Rib and I, of course, we spend most of our time fishing. If you know Rib, you know he's a fisherman, and those guys were up doing all those hiking, climbing those 8-9 miles up in those mountains and everything. We tried to stay with them for a while until the cramps killed us, but I wish we had a picture to show you. We were I was up on this big rock, and I was laying there asking God to kill me. I was in such pain. If they'd had a picture of us coming down that mountain, we had walking sticks and everything, just trying to hold ourselves up. It was crazy, but we hung in there as long as we could, because we weren't used to doing that, you know, and trying to get with those guys. Those guys were mountain climbers. But anyway, I'm going to give a Rib an opportunity this morning to share something that he's thankful for. So y'all listen to what he's got to say.
My story is about Thanksgiving, and what Dan was saying was true. Just the chance to be able to get out with some friends and guys that you're used to being with, and just find out where they're at in their lives and just have spiritual growth with them is awesome. But what I'm thankful about this past year was a trip to Nepal, and we were able to go there for 2 weeks, and it was kind of a giving thing at first, because we went over there to work on building a church there, and when we got there, it was just a foundation and a pile of brick there was about 3,000 brick in this pile, and we had to make that pile of brick disappear. So the Nepali foreman, he was there for like the first day, and then the second day we got there, it was like, where's the Nepali foreman at? And they said that he wasn't going to be there because the Americans were there, and he wasn't coming back until we left. And I know a little bit about brickwork, so I was like, that's great, because this way I could show my talents to all these people and just get things rolling. So I took over, and we burned up those 3,000 brick, and then we had brick delivered to the church area, and through that 6 days of 9 Americans that actually worked, and the Nepali kids that were there, they would be watching, and we had extra trowels there. I would just physically take them over to one of the American guys, and I'd say, this is your apprentice. And they would work with the Nepali kids, and they would teach them how to lay brick. And within that 6 days, we were able to lay 8,400 brick. And just the sense of, you know, giving to that particular organization where they could grow in this church, and the kids be able to grow up there, and just knowing that I was a part of it was amazing. Then we got to the trust home, and it was like you get to meet the kids, you know, feel the kids when you're there, and they're brought from outer regions, like the Mustang area, just different regions, and the reason that they're there is they're brought in by family members. They come in for different reasons, but just to see what they go through and know that what we've gone through ourselves as kids in America. I'm very thankful for my mother. I'm thankful for my dad, and now I'm very thankful for the people that are in my life, because my life was straight when I was a kid, and my life just went crooked all over the place. And then I decided to get back in with God, and now that I have God in my life, He has placed people in my life and that are just truly amazing, friends, family. I'm more happier now than I have been in my entire life, and that's just due to what God has done for me. And just to be able to give, to learn how to give, not do it out of, I want to do this because it's going to give me notoriety. I give like I have. My talent is carpentry. Yesterday, we put in a wheelchair ramp for this guy, and I'm going back out after this and work on his place to widen up doors and work on his deck. But it's not a sense of notoriety. I just want to do it to be able to give. But when I got back from Nepal, it was like a couple weeks went by, and it was like the high of being in Nepal kind of was wearing off, and I was like, God, what am I supposed to do next? And then I prayed about it, and then a couple weeks later, God was, you have to look and listen for your signs, because if you don't, you're going to miss out. And God said, well, I need you to do this. And then He's been placing different things in my life to be able to show me, this is your next step. This is your next step. But you just have to keep your eyes and ears open and continue to pray, because praying is, that's it. It's something that is visible in a physical way, because you know when it's happening, you know when it's not happening, and if it's not happening fast enough, you're going, God, could you hurry it up? But I'm just thankful for guys like Dan, and that's in my life.
One thing Rib was talking about, this ramp he's making for this guy. What's that guy's name?
Josh Kirk.
Josh Kirk. Okay. He fell out of a tree stand, I think it was last week, and broke some bones and got hurt pretty good. And so here Rib's over there with some other guys helping this guy out, building this ramp for this guy. And to me, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about serving, talking about giving, and giving your time, whatever that might be. But that's a picture of it right there, and that's what we're trying to learn. What we need to do to be a better servant. And I was thinking when he was talking about Nepal, I was thinking myself about Nicaragua when I was there last year, or this year actually, and I was just going through my mind all the different things that has done for me, as far as just going and serving, not asking any questions why, just like, God wants me to do this. I don't know. I don't understand this. I can't even speak English. Well, I can't speak English either very well, but I know I can't speak Spanish, so I'm really in trouble. But I think I got a D in English when I was in school. You can probably tell that. But anyway, it's when you think about those things like that, when we're talking about Thanksgiving today and being thankful, God, if you put yourself in the right place with God, He will give you some amazing opportunities that you can't even think about right now. I mean, you can't even picture them in your own mind, what God can do in your life if you'll just surrender it to Him. And so we're going to be talking about that a little bit today, but we're going to go eat here shortly. But when we come back, we're going to have some questions for you, but we're going to let you share and talk around the table about what you're thankful for. But then we're going to give some of you guys, at least probably one guy from each table, a chance to share with us today. This day is for you guys, and we want you to share with us what God's been doing in your life, because a lot of times we need to hear these things, because, you know, if we don't hear what God's doing in your life, some people are there like, well, what's God doing? I don't hear nobody, you know, what does God really do? Well, we know some of you guys' stories, so we know what God's doing, but sometimes we need to hear it. We need to hear it. So we're going to give you guys a chance to do that. We're going to give some of you guys opportunity to share some things this morning. Probably give you a couple minutes when you come up here. If we get too long, Damon will cut you off. No, but anyway, I want to share a couple verses with you here before we get into that. Philippians 4:6, it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving present your requests to God." Now that does say everything. You know, sometimes we don't realize what that means, I think. You know, everything, the good and the bad. We're supposed to bring that to God. And also, I want to read, Mike Mahone kind of introduced me to this devotional called Jesus Calling. And there are some interesting things in here about thankfulness. And a couple of the verses in here says, always give thanks to God, Ephesians 5:20. Always give thanks to God for everything in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Then in Psalm 118:1 it says, give thanks to the Lord, for He is good. His love endures forever. And then in Psalm 89:15 it says, blessed are those who have learned to acclaim you, who walk in the light of your presence. And one thing he mentioned in there, he says, you should learn to give thanks regardless of your feelings, and He will give you joy regardless of your circumstances. This is a spiritual act of obedience, at times blind obedience. Sometimes when we're giving thanks in bad situations, we're like, I don't see how any good can come out of this. But it says, if you're willing to be thankful, it will open your heart up to His presence and also your thoughts of your mind. So as we're thinking today about Thanksgiving and being thankful, as we learn to pray and be thankful to God, I know for myself, it's become really a daily thing with me. It's kind of like God wants to show us something each day in our life, something that He wants to do in us or through us each day. And I think we need to learn to pray that way, that God will show us what He wants for us. And at the end of the day, we can look back and see the things we can be thankful for that God has either done for us or maybe hasn't done for us, or maybe hasn't allowed to happen. You know, sometimes we're thankful for the things that do happen, but you ever think about the things that didn't happen? And in fact, we got one guy probably be sharing that today, something that did happen, but it could have been a lot worse. But anyway, I know there's a couple guys who want to share some things, so I think the first guy I'm going to bring up here is Kevin.
I'm Kevin. Monday night, I didn't want to be here, and I wasn't planning on coming here Monday night. I was planning on going to meet a friend of mine, and I don't know what we would have done or what would have happened, but I was riding my bike down Waterlick, and this is just to show you that God does everything for a reason. I come across Timberlake Road, and a woman hit me in a car, and it totaled my bike, and I'm all right. I didn't get hurt, nothing broken, but the lady jumped out the car, and she said, you scratched my bumper. She didn't ask me if I was all right or anything. And my first reaction was to get mad, and I'm like, I'm not getting mad. So we didn't call the police or anything. I just took my bike and locked it up and started walking. I was still trying to make my meeting, which was over here at 5:30, and that wasn't going to happen. So when I got over here, it was like 10 minutes to 7. I said, well, I'll just go to Engage, because it's about to start at 7, and I got in Engage, and he started talking about forgiveness. And if you've ever forgiven anybody, and the first thing in my mind was, well, I don't hold grudges against anybody. I've forgiven the lady for hitting me. I don't know what this is about. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. And as I was sitting here listening to his story, an ex-friend of mine walked in that we got into a fight with and went to court with, and I haven't spoken to him in 6 months. And he never comes to this restaurant, but he come in that night, and that's the reason God wanted me here, was to go and ask him for forgiveness. And I went and asked him for forgiveness, and he already knew what God was doing, and he said he's already forgiven me. But that's what happened Monday night.
I'm thankful for being able to stand up here, because I was in bed for 5 months. They took my knee replacement out. I had an infection, and they rebuilt my knee 3 months ago. And already I walk around and, I'm walking. You don't think about it. Peeing in the toilet, don't think about it. But every once in a while I'm reminded by somebody that I haven't known that long, that sees me, that's known me longer in a wheelchair than walking. And they come up to me in church and say, it's really good to see you walking. And I'm like, yeah, I get a readjustment on my thankfulness. It's good to be walking. So, I'm thankful for that whole episode of being laid up. My life changed, and I got closer to God and closer to my wife, and she got closer to God, and it was a great, one of the best things that ever happened to me. So I'm thankful to be able to stand up here instead of being down here.
I guess, I'm thankful just to have a God who actually does work in my life. Things for me from a year ago are completely different. And I'm, I guess, most thankful this year for my friendship with Tim. We made a really good connection. We get along well. I go over his house and do laundry. He's got a great wife, great family. And I'm just really thankful that, God will put people in your lives that you need when you need them. That's it. Thanks.
Gosh, it started about a year ago when my mom gave her life to Christ, got baptized, and then the year started out, she died at 90 years old. And then in June, I got all my bills paid off. I mean, I've been really blessed. But then Thursday morning, I don't know if anybody saw the news in advance, on the front of the paper, I hope I can get through this, was a story about little Lillian. And it was called The Thanksgiving Heart, I believe. And her mom had given birth to her right around 2 years ago. And she had some gastro problems, had surgery 6 days after she was born. Her grandmother is a member of Blue Ridge, who I've known, and at that point she had asked for prayer, and I prayed for baby Lillian for her life, which was only 7 months. She had gotten through the first problems and then was good for about 5 months, and then had reoccurring problems and died. And I remember praying for her all that time, and going to the viewing, the wake, and seeing her there just laid out in this beautiful, beautiful dress, and being this big. And it just, I questioned God, I questioned Jesus, and I said, why do you take a child so young? And this really bothered me Thursday. And not having an answer for that, and not that I struggled with that. I know about life. I know about people that have had children, that have lost children. But then that story came to light, that they gave that heart. A transplant team came in and talked to Lindsay and her mom and asked her about donating her heart. And they donated her heart to a child in, I want to say, Minnesota. And that little boy just turned 2. They brought that child to, in the stories in depth, they brought that child to Lynchburg over Halloween to meet Lindsay, her family, her sister, and her grandmother. And Lindsay was able to listen to that heartbeat. And then Lindsay and her family went out to Minnesota this week for that. But then my answer got answered. Why does God do this? Well, God did this to make Lillian was going to have problems probably all her life, but her heart is now beating in a 2-year-old. So I sat there and I cried all day. And then when I got dinner ready for my children, my son was there, my daughter was there, and 5 of their friends. That's what I was thankful for. So any of us that have kids, now you know what to be thankful for. So thank you.
That's interesting. He told that story because I was thinking back there about the story I wanted to share, and some of you know this story, but my daughter, Debbie, she goes to Blue Ridge now, but she, about 10 years ago, she was pregnant and she had a car wreck up on Timberlake Road, and because of it, she lost her baby. And and also because of it, she wasn't able to have children anymore. Well, they've been praying about 10 years, I guess, about adopting. And so about 3 or 4 months ago, my son-in-law's, one of the fellows that works for my son-in-law came to him and said, my sister's pregnant and she can't really keep the baby and she wants to know if you guys might want to adopt the child. Of course, you know, my son-in-law and my daughter, they were just like, wow. And so they really prayed about it. Of course, they've been praying about it. They really didn't have to pray much about it because they've been praying about it for a long time. And so it was just like, thank you, God. And so September 26th this year, Lindsay Ray, name was Lindsay, was born. And now she's at home with my daughter and son-in-law. And that's just talking about something being thankful for. God's done a lot of things this year, but that really was a major blessing to be able to hold that little child and know that this was like a miracle from God. It's like, God, this baby was taken away, but I've given you another one. And so I know my daughter and son-in-law are so thankful to God that he provided this little girl into their life. And this mother couldn't take care of that child, but they're taking care of that child. And so God works in some strange ways sometimes. You know, things happen like that. You know, you're looking at something that looked really bad, losing the baby and can't have children, and God says, that's okay, I got it covered. I'm going to give you a child. And that's really what he's done. So when you talk about that story, about that heart and everything, I can really relate to that because to me it's kind of the same type of thing that's happened there with my daughter.
Most of you guys know my story, you know, but what I was going to talk about tonight is what God's been teaching me over the past, probably I'd say 5 months, maybe less than that, since about the beginning of July. Something that's been going on in my life is, you know, I've been in and out of jail twice over the past year and a half, and going through the things I went through, I never really thought, I always told myself, God, you can't, or told God, you can't use what I've been through. You can't, you know, I truly believe that God couldn't do in me for others, or he couldn't use what I've been through for others to help others. But over the past 5 months, I can truly tell you, God said, you know what, buddy, I can, and I'm going to show you. And so the whole thing has been with a guy named Bob. Some of you guys know him. He sits at my table every week. And just the relationship that me and Bob have built with each other is one where we can look at each other and tell if one of us is doing bad or what's going on in each other's life, and we're not afraid to tell each other the truth. We're not afraid to challenge each other. And I've really taken that to heart, where As before, before I met Bob, I wanted to do it myself. I always thought that I'd come here to engage, get filled up, and just, I can do it. I can do these things on my own. I can take what these guys tell me at the table every week, and I can, on my own power, I will overcome what's been going on. And each and every time, I just get more and more defeated, more and more frustrated with where I'm at spiritually, more and more angry that things aren't going my way. And I never would reach out to anyone else in those times. And I always got to a place where I would come back to engage and try to fill up again and be honest about where I'm at, but still try to fill up and do it myself. And then I met Bob and started to look, and hear where he was at, and went into, trying to start our relationship with him. And, I can, I've been through the divorce too. I've been through, the feelings that you're feeling. It really struck me how everything he was saying was exactly what I went through already. The feelings he was having, the thoughts, and the circumstances, although, what got us to divorce was two completely separate things. But the whole pain and all those thoughts and feelings that come with divorce were the same. And I realized, God was telling me, you know what, you've been through this, so help him. And I looked at God and I was like, well, I don't know, I can't do this. So in stepped Levi. A lot of you guys know Levi, and he reached down to me, and I for whatever reason, I know as God, I reached up to him, and I was like, all right, if I'm going to do this with Bob, the whole big brother, little brother thing that Joe talked about, if I'm going to be able to reach back to Bob, I have to reach up to Levi. And once I started doing that, my relationship with God has gotten so much stronger. Just realizing that God can do anything he says he'll do, and my ideas of what he can do are nothing compared to what he can do. And so that's really been what God's been teaching me over the past 5 months. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to stand up here and say everything's great. There's still days where I feel frustrated spiritually, and I just don't want to do this anymore. But each and every time, God is there to either have Levi text me or Bob will text me, ask me how I'm doing, and I have to be honest with them. There's no other way, to get through this without these guys unless you're honest with them.
It was one of those things where when you put your heart out there, what are you doing? There's risk involved with being hurt, judgment coming. So you hear about the sign-up sheets for gathering. You got small groups. In small groups, it's going to get real, right? But for me, I just stepped out, signed up for Jared's group. We've been meeting on Tuesday mornings, and we meet early. I got to get up at 5 o'clock to get there. And after a long night on Monday night, sometimes 5 o'clock comes and I have to kind of get myself going. But I can't wait to get there tomorrow, because what happened last week, where we are really starting to invest in each other, and we're going on the journey together. And that's good, man. That's really good.
I was talking to my table, and I was just really thankful for the last year, just thinking about the brothers I have, and it really hit me this past Sunday. Of course, Woody was giving his message, and something I struggle with is grumbling. A lot of the brothers that I meet with know about that and everything, and I was just there, and next thing I know, I have someone grab me, and it was one of my brothers, and it was Dan. Next thing I know, if you all know Dan, he likes to cry. And if you know Brian, I like to talk. So next thing I know, we're talking a lot and we're crying a lot. And, just put it really in perspective for me, because I've had a real struggle this year with my brothers and everything like that. And it's just all been lies from the evil one for me on my behalf. And because just like Dan that morning, they've all been there for me. And I've been there for them to a certain degree. I try to stay as faithful as I can. But You know, so just when I think about it, I'm just really thankful for all of you, even the ones I don't know here, because I know the investment that Engage has on each one of our lives, and I know it had a great investment in my life. I mean, that's the reason why I ended up finding my salvation, was based off of the original group and dealing with my wife and then leading me to Christ. And just because I'm not here and everything like that, y'all have no idea how much I actually am here. And I'm just really thankful for that, and I'm thankful for my Lord.
When I gave my life to Christ in 2009, I was very fortunate to be in a group of guys that were very serious about their faith. And I just remember, like, it was almost like every day, every week, it was like just fast, you know, something was going on. Okay, like, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna do this? And it was like just that one meeting per week, somehow outside of here, but somehow that one meeting per week just like put me in like turbo in my walk on a weekly basis. And I can't really explain that other than it was like I was closer to God. I was closer in my walk with Christ during that time when I was meeting with those guys at 5:40 in the morning. Because when it stopped, there was a change, and I missed it. And it was like I felt like I was on my own. I felt like I was kind of doing it on my, like, it was like I was in the battle, but I wasn't in the foxhole with my guys. And it was like, now that, you know, they put this, and actually I actually met with a guy for almost a year just to keep, because we didn't want to give up meeting together. You know, it was only two of us. We didn't really know why we were meeting. We were just meeting just to catch up and make sure, you know, each other was doing well. Went through a few things together, nothing major, but it was almost like we were just kind of coasting. And then Will and these guys, you know, put this this gathering sign-up sheets together, and you know, I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll have a group, and it was just like, you know, when I found out that a couple guys had signed up, I was excited. I already knew it was going to be good, and I didn't even know the guys coming. One of the guys I had never even met, and I think we met 3 times, and it's already just like, I feel like I'm back in turbo. I feel like I'm back, you know, we're just like spurring each other on, you know, and I feel like, I don't know, I can't explain it other than this. If you guys are just coming here on Monday nights or Saturday mornings, you're missing. You're missing out. I'm telling you. You're missing out on another level of community that is huge in my walk. And I just want to encourage you guys to do it. I mean, you know, it's such an encouragement to me to be around men. And I love this because I meet so many different guys. Like I was just telling Michael, I've met him like 3 times and I forgot his name. And, you know, Jacob and I have known each other, you know, a few times. And it's just like, but it's different. It's just different when you see the same 3 or 4 guys once a week, when you sit down at that table and you know that the only thing you're there to talk about is where I'm at with God right now. And you pray for each other about whatever struggle it may be. It's just different. And I'm telling you, I'm so encouraged by being with other guys once a week, as simple as that may sound, that are serious about their faith. So I just want to encourage you guys, if you're not doing it, just check it out. Just try it one time. Just try it one time.
Jared, I agree with you that meeting with guys during the week has changed my life too. And it all started for me when I asked somebody to be my big brother. That I didn't know if it would ever happen, but I asked him, and nothing did happen for a while. But after I don't know, 5 or 6 months, I found myself meeting with him and a bunch of other guys, and him pouring time into me that I know is valuable, and it just I'd never had that opportunity before, and I never had anybody invest in me like that. So one of the verses that comes to mind is in Psalm 78, 70 through 72. It's where God was selecting David from being a shepherd of sheep to shepherding men. And he said, David shepherded with integrity of heart, and with skillful hands he led them. And so this big brother, little brother thing is teaching all of us that want to be taught and that want to turn around and pour it back into other guys, how to do it with integrity of heart and skillful hands. And so for that, I'm thankful.
My name's Joel. Been coming to Blue Ridge for about a little over a year. Just started coming here, I think it's my 4th week maybe. The first night I was here, I shared some stuff that I wasn't really comfortable sharing. I broke out anyway, and I was just amazed to see the brotherhood. And I sat at the table with 3 other guys, and I got a text message the next day from each one of those men asking me how I was doing in my walk with the Lord. I've never had that anywhere before. It's just really amazing to see. I was going through a kind of a period of complacency in my life. I volunteer as a fireman, and it's something that I find a lot of self-worth in, you know, going out and saving somebody's life or pulling somebody out of a car. You know, it's exhilarating, and it's, you know, a lot of self-satisfaction out of it. Well, I dedicated a bit too much time to work and to that, and I ended up sacrificing time with my wife. And I was just sharing with them a little while ago that, you know, I came home one night and she was crying. And, you know, I asked her why, and she said, well, I don't see you. I mean, when you are here, you don't listen, you just sit back, sit on the couch, you don't pay attention to me and whatever. And it really hit home with me. And, you know, as Danny was saying, sharing stories from, you know, what his father had to say. One long time ago, my father said, you only get out what you put into it. And as I sat back and took a look in my life, I realized that I wasn't really focusing on God. I mean, I claimed to be a Christian. I went to church every Sunday, but I'd sit in the back row of Blue Ridge and listen to the message, say that was good, get up and walk out. I wouldn't say hi to anybody or anything. And over the past couple months, I signed up to serve, and I'm an usher over at Blue Ridge, and I've been coming here and really investing more time in the Lord. And I guess right now, just really thankful for this group of men, meeting with Jared and Danny on Tuesday mornings. I don't really like getting up in the mornings, but, you know, even my wife came to me and said, I noticed a difference in you because you come home and you're happy, you're not depressed. And I know that they've been praying for me because I've been able to listen to my wife for the first time since we've been married. We've been married for about 2 years. And I've really been able to sit down and listen, and it's not a chore like it was before. It's something that I want to do. And I was telling them it's kind of like the movie Fireproof. I remember the only line I really remember of that movie is where he turns to him and says, never ever stop getting to know your wife like you did when you were pursuing her and dating her. And that's one thing that stuck out in my mind throughout this time. And anyway, that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for all you guys, and thankful for my small group in my church.
I started my walk this past January, and God has definitely shown me a lot through mistakes that I've made. He showed me a lot about me and who He is, and you know, I would say the main thing that I am thankful for is God, just because He separated me from environments and people that were no good to me that I couldn't see back then. And not only did He just take those out of my life, but He's put in great people in different opportunities that I never thought, you know, were possible. And I mean, if you told me I'd be here right now talking about God just last year, I would have probably laughed and went on about my business. But I'm thankful just for God and those reasons. And I just encourage y'all just to keep going, keep walking, say yes, and just give, you know, God room to move and see what He's going to do in it. It's a great thing.
So just thankful so much for Will, Woody, Stephen Dunn creating this group. I was in the breakfast. It was what led me to Christ, one of the key things that led me to Christ. That and the Encounters group. 4 years ago, a defining moment. There's been so many defining moments in this group, and I've heard you guys share them. So just, wow, just bless all you guys, and And thank you for this group. Thank you.
It's important for us to realize that we do need the community. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. It's important to walk with other men. I can't tell you the fabric of it, what God does, but He shows up. And when you're there and your intent is to move closer to Christ, and you know that the other guys are there for the same reason, the intent and the purpose for being at that table is to spur each other on. We talk about it every week. Spur each other on. You're there for one reason. It's not the normal conversations of sports, work, the other junk in life that we are comfortable talking about. It's where's your heart. So if you didn't get in the group, this is probably time to wrap up. If you didn't get in the group, I encourage you. I mean, it sounds like it's still something pretty important to consider. And, you know, like Sawyer said, just ask somebody. You know, that's what we're all here for. And I know it's something that God will work in your life.